Hello and welcome to the Race Asylum YouTube channel. So today we're going to be looking at strategy, specifically the tyre strategy. So we're going to go through a race here that a few of us have done for an example where we run different strategies to show why it's so important to practice your strategy, know what strategy you're going to use and stick to that strategy. So we'll get straight into it now then. So what we're going to do here, we're going to kind of go through this race a little bit like it's a live commentary, but instead of commentating on the race, we're going to sort of talk through the strategies and what different drivers are doing to benefit their strategies. So just as we get started here, we'll run through strategies being run. So Gecko is trying to drive smooth but fast, so he's using the tyres as best he can, but he's also not pushing them to the very limit. He's being smooth with it, but he is pushing the tyres. He's not looking after them, he's just being smooth, which will naturally look after him. Paul is going to push the tyres hard, so Paul's going to drive very aggressively, which will obviously be prone to more errors, might get him that faster lap time, but will also wear the tyres a bit quicker. Nick is going to do a similar strategy to Paul and Gecko, but obviously starting on the harder compound of tyre and then going on to the softer compound rather than just running the softer compound. I then am going to run the mediums all the way to the end of the race, so I'm going to do some extreme tyre saving, which we'll just look at now. Watch coming into this corner, 100 metre is the braking marker. I'm braking about 140 there at half. I had to go up a little bit more because my braking point wasn't spot on, which that is the difficult bit when you're looking after tyres. You need to practice so that you can get your brake markers bob on, so that you can brake as little as possible, so that you look after those tyres. You want to be braking around 50% if you're doing tyre saving, if you're doing extreme tyre saving, which to be honest you probably wouldn't go quite this extreme as what I do in this race, but you will be able to use this type of strategy at one or two corners at a track to help save your tyres, and by the end of a stint that might gain you a lap. So we look at Nicky here is doing similar to Nick, but was going to run both mediums, but I think put softs on in the end. And if you look, I lift here and let Nicky go. So my concentration here is on my strategy. I'm not worried about Nicky's strategy. Nicky's quicker than me at that moment. He's on softer tyres. I want Nicky in front of me. So I lift off, use that time to look after my tyres, let Nicky go. And look now, I can now use Nicky. So I'm now sitting behind Nicky, just sitting there behind him, driving smooth, driving gentle, braking not too hard, accelerating nice and smooth, doing everything I can to make sure the tyres do not wear so that they last till the end of the race, because I don't want to come into the pits and lose time in the pit stop. So that's what I'm going for. So now I look at this with Nicky, not like I've lost a position, but I look at it that I'm now gaining time, because I've got Nicky's slipstream. Nicky should be lapping faster than me at this moment in time. Nicky is faster than I am. So if I can stick in Nicky's slipstream and still run my strategy of looking after the tyres, then I'm going to gain by having let Nicky by. So that's the way you've got to look at things, is at the big picture, which is also why you need to practice strategies before a race so that you know what you're going to run, and you need to commit to running it. There will be circumstances where strategies might need to change, but in general you need to run your strategy that you have picked, and you need to commit to it, especially in GT7 like this, where there's no safety cars, things like that. Strategy is a bit more set in stone, a bit less on the fly, whereas maybe some other games you might have to change strategy. But you look there, we're pushing Nicky along. Look now, I can back off nice and early, 50% braking up to about 70%, nice and smooth through turn one, staying in second gear, nice and smooth on the accelerator, still right behind Nicky. So Nicky is pushing now, but I am managing to now run my strategy but lap faster than I would have been able to without Nicky there. So Nicky is now allowing me to not push, to still not push, but gain lap time. So we'll go on to King Gears now. King Gears on the hard tyre. So King Gears is doing the same strategy as me, not having to do that pit stop. That's what he's aiming for, no pit stop. But by being on the harder tyre, he gets rid of that having to look after the tyres. He can now push as hard as he likes, but he obviously is going to have less grip, so his overall lap time's going to be less, but he's not going to have to look after the tyres as much, so he can push more. Which, again, he is now running his strategy. He's not worried that he's at the back of the race. His strategy is to lap as quick as he can, so that when people pit, he gains in that pit stop phase. That is what King Gears' strategy is all about. So back to Gecko now then. Gecko just running his laps, starting to pull a gap, and that's what he's aiming to do. Pull a gap, he wants to pit stop. He needs to get a gap so that when he pits, he can come out as close to those that aren't pitting as he can, because the closer he is to those that aren't pitting, the easier it's going to be for him to come back past them and take the win of this race. And that's Gecko's aim in this one, which is the same thing Nick's going for, but Nick being on the medium tyre is going to have a bit less pace. But the advantage for Nick on the medium tyre is he doesn't have to worry about tyre wear as much, plus he might be able to take his first stint longer, which would allow him to have better tyres during his second stint, which might give him an advantage at the end of the race. And if you're not the best at looking after tyres, or you're not the smoothest driver, or you're in a very high tyre wear car, then this sort of strategy might work better. Rather than running a soft track twice, run the mediums, and obviously get the extra laps on the mediums, so that when you run the softs, you don't have to worry about tyres. You're not going to struggle at the end of the stint, which again is similar to what Nicky's doing. As you see, Nicky has now managed to pull away from me, which is what he was going to do because he has that better tyre, but we have gained 2 laps, maybe more, in Nicky's slipstream there. So for our race overall, we have gained time, and Kingy is now trying to push to get back on the back of us, and Paul, having made an error there by the looks of it, is obviously dropped to the back. But Paul's strategy now, this is where you might possibly change your strategy in Paul's situation, because mistakes have been made. But Paul is trying to show running aggressive, being aggressive on those tyres. Look at that aggressive turning on the accelerator really early. He's really using the grip that he's got in those tyres, but obviously by doing that, he's wearing them quicker. So obviously there's trade-offs for how you drive. But now he's obviously going to want to get back past King Gears, whereas I was happy to let Nicky go and sit behind him because Nicky should be faster. This is the opposite. Paul should be faster than King Gears here. So in this situation, he's going to want to push to pass King Gears because he should be faster, and King Gears is holding his strategy up. And that's what you need to know. You need to know when is the car in front helping your strategy, and when is the car in front hindering your strategy. As we see King Gears signal, so King Gears wants Paul to go by here, and if we go on with King Gears, watch him lift. He lifted off there, and now he's going to straight brake, which is going to allow Paul to take the inside. So Paul didn't choose to do that manoeuvre on King Gears. King Gears give him that position for the same reason that I give Nicky the position earlier on. King Gears is on the hard tyres. What he wants to do now is stick in Paul's slipstream as long as he can, because Paul might now be able to pull King Gears up towards me, and King Gears' race is with me. Me and King Gears, different tyre plan, but same strategy, both doing a no stop. So me and King Gears have got a different tyre strategy, but the same overall race strategy. And obviously that's what King Gears will be thinking about at this moment. He's running his strategy, and Paul being ahead of him is a benefit to his strategy. Paul being behind him, putting him under pressure, possibly going to go for a move, slowing him down, is obviously bad for King Gears' strategy. But unfortunately Paul makes a mistake, which then is going to hinder King Gears' strategy now. But he didn't get affected, he got by no problem. So King Gears now can push on again and go back to lapping as fast as he can on these harder tyres. So when the likes of Gecko, Nick, Little Nicky at the front pit, he can take advantage and to attempt to try and set the same lap times that I am, so that when my tyres wear more than what King Gears' will, he can then take advantage of, even though he's on the harder tyres, he will have the better pace later on. So let's move back forward to Gecko then, who again still on the same situation, pushing hard. So I'm going to skip forward a few laps now to see where we can get to see, because now everybody's settled into running their strategy at the moment. So now moving on a couple of laps, as you can see, I've now made a couple of little mistakes. King Gears is now getting back in my slipstream, but I'm still running my strategy here. I'm not worried. I can't change my strategy because I know I need to extremely look after the tyres to make them last. So as we see Nick, unfortunately, again being aggressive on those mediums, making an error, so being the more aggressive strategy can be open to more errors, whereas if you're on maybe the less aggressive strategy, errors can be less likely because you're maybe not pushing as hard. But King Gears now has managed to get my slipstream, so that is good for King Gears, because King Gears now can lap faster behind me on the softer tyre. But King Gears now will be looking at the way I'm driving, and he's probably started to notice, which in this situation he did know what I was doing, but if it was a normal race, King Gears would start to notice now that I'm braking early. So King Gears will be thinking, well, I'm braking early, but I'm not slowing down really fast. So look, I braked so much earlier than King Gears there, but I wasn't slowing down a huge amount because I wasn't fully braking. So King Gears will be using that information and saying, right, he now will probably realise I'm looking after tyres. So he's going to think of that in his strategy, how he plays it. But he'll also be noticing that I'm getting better exits. So he will figure out that I'm on a softer tyre than he is. But he will also go, well, if I'm on a softer tyre than he is, but I'm aggressively looking after my tyres, so I'm on an extreme tyre save, King Gears will now know that me and him are on the same strategy. Different tyre strategy, but the same pit stop strategy. We're both going for the no stop. He will be picking this information up by the way I drive, which is something that comes with experience and doing more, but it also comes from practicing strategies, which is why before league races we encourage you to practice the race with the settings. You know the length of the race, you know the tyre wear, you know everything. Practice the race with those settings, and that will allow you to be able to know what strategies people are on, and when you're in a race you'll then be able to pick up what strategies people are doing. So King Gears now, he can still see that at this moment in time I am lapping faster than King Gears can on his own. So since King Gears has got to my slipstream, those lap times as his have improved. So he's got no need to try and overtake me. His aim now is just to stay in my slipstream. He probably realises we are on the same strategy, but my tyres are a softer compound, therefore come the end of the race, King Gears might have an advantage over me on tyres. So that's what King Gears will be looking at. I'm getting good exits, I'm on a softer tyre, but he can have the advantage. Eventually he will look for the move to overtake me. However, at the moment I'm not affecting him, so he's happy behind me. But you just look, he has to be careful though, but look at the exit I get, softer tyre, better exit. But look at that, braking so much earlier than him, but nice and smooth into the corner, nice smooth line, so he will know I'm looking after my tyres. So back forward to Gecko now. Gecko is now running his strategy, but those tyres are coming down. So I believe this race was a 22 lap, ended up being 22 laps. So Gecko knows now he's on lap 10, he's got 2 laps to go on these tyres, because he's not going to want to pit till the end of lap 11. So he will be knowing that he's got 2 laps to go, but you look, he's nearly utilised that full tyre. And the only way you know how long your tyres are going to last is by practicing. Nicky, same situation. He knows that maybe the softs will last 11 laps. So he knows that actually he can pit on lap 11. However, he's on the medium tyre. So he's got that choice by being on the mediums of maybe going an extra lap or two, so that his soft tyres at the end are going to be in much better condition. But the trade-off for that is obviously a slight loss of lap time when you're on the harder tyre. You've got to take that into account. As we see here, King Gear's still happy to sit behind me, still happy to use the slipstream, still happy that at the moment I'm helping his lap time more than hindering it. But he is probably taking into account that because I'm braking earlier and we've not had a huge amount of practice, I was making a few little mistakes, which King Gears will be taking note of as he's driving. So he'll be now making his decision as to when does he think he is faster than I am. It's what King Gears will be thinking now as he's driving, concentrating on his laps, but not wanting to slow us down, because if King Gears tries to overtake me, he will slow himself down. So for his overall race, it'll hinder him. But when it gets to a point where I'm too slow for him, he will obviously want to overtake me, and I'll have to take that risk of a slight loss of lap time on that lap to take advantage of the overall strategy. And this is the way you've got to think, and this only works by practicing. So again, he's got my slipstream now, he's being pulled along when on the straights. He can see, look, I'm braking nice and early. Kingy is closing up in the braking zone. But look, because I'm driving smoother, less aggressive, looking after those tyres, and I'm on a softer compound, I'm able to pull away on the exit. But again, coming into the braking zone, Kingy is going to close up that gap. But the smoother driving that I'm doing to look after the tyres is going to, and the softer tyres are going to give me that better exit speed. So here you're seeing the trade-offs in two very similar strategies, but very different at the same time. Kingy is on the harder tyre, not having to look after tyres, is gaining in the braking zone. But because I'm looking after the tyres, having that softer compound is allowing me to gain on the exit of corners. But at the moment, both of us know on our own strategy, we're happy to sit in these positions. We're happy to lap together. You can see I'm not defending from King Gears. King Gears isn't attacking me. We are both happy to sit and work together, because for the long run, for the end of the race, this is best for our individual strategies, is working together as a team. And we're taking advantage of that so that maybe we can get Gecko when he comes into the pits. Because that's what you need to run your race. And I've probably said this already, and I'll probably say it again. You run your race early on. Late on in the race, yeah, comes a bit different. You got 1 or 2 laps left, 3 laps left, you might start battling for position. However, early in the race, you need to run your strategy and not let anyone get in the way of that. Run your own strategy. So here Kingy is getting close, he knows I'm going to brake early. So, no, see, look, sits behind me still, doesn't attack, knows that this is best for his strategy. But I know it's coming up soon when I think Kingy does get past me. As you see, I'm still having to look after tyres. So you look at the moment, mine and Kingy's tyre wear is very similar as Kingy's goes fit. But you look, I don't defend, slight little bit of contact, but that's just unfortunate. But you look, I actually let Kingy's go. I allow him to have that, no defence, because it doesn't work for my strategy. Now though, I'm thinking he's had a bad exit, do I go for it? But look, no, back off nice and early, look after my tyres. Unfortunately we had a slight touch of the grass there, but now I can use Kingy as the same as Kingy has used me. But look, Kingy has got a bad exit, so now we are battling a little bit, because this is where we're trying to decide which one of us is faster. This is where it's got to that crossover point of which one of us is faster. But we need to keep it to where we know. So you look, I back off early. No, let King Gears have it. That's it. I've decided now, at this moment, King Gears is now fast enough for me to be behind. Because I'm looking after my tyres still. For all I know, King Gears' hard tyres could wear out and he could make a mistake. So for my strategy now, I've decided it's better with King Gears in front. Because with King Gears in front, I can take the slipstream. Look, I can brake at 50%. Look at that, 50% braking, not 100%, so that I look after those tyres. So I can use King Gears to my advantage now. As we see, Nicky went out an extra lap, like we said, look. So by using those medium tyres, he's got himself an extra lap, which means hopefully he'll have better tyres come the end of the race on Gecko, who was running the same strategy that's coming a lap earlier. But Gecko's aim now is to chase after me and King Gears, who he probably figures out at this point are going to do a no-stop. If me and King Gears are yet to stop and have been lapping a lot slower than Gecko has, Gecko will now be realising that these two ahead are not stopping. So he knows to win this race, he has to catch and overtake us on track. We are not going to come into the pits. And that's what Gecko will be thinking about. But Gecko's strategy, the way he's running it, 2 sets of softs, pushing hard, but being smooth so that he doesn't totally ruin the tyres, so that he can get those 11 laps. He knows that he can now push to get after me and King Gears. So I'll just move on now to when he does actually catch us up. So as you can see now, Gecko's pushed hard and he's now caught up to me and King Gears. So me and King Gears now are looking at this. We now kind of need to race Gecko, because this is the race for the win now, because none of us are pitting again. However, we're 15 laps into a 22 lap race. We know we ain't going to hold it to the end. You can look at the grip advantage Gecko has out of that corner. So I ain't even going to go across to the left to defend. I still need to look after my tyres. That's my aim here, looking after my tyres still. Because I need to get, as you see, look at my tyre wear, I need to get to the end of this race. So it's pointless me fighting with Gecko. He's going to get me at some point anyway. All's fighting with Gecko will do here is ruin my tyres, force me to have to pit and lose me a chance at a podium. Because that's what I'm now fighting for. I'm now accepting that Gecko's strategy has worked better than mine, but that's it. He might make a mistake still, so it's pointless fighting him because I'm racing my strategy. If there was 1 lap left, 2 laps left, yes, fight him hard. But again, the same for King Gears. King Gears has got 2 compounds of tyre harder than Gecko's, and also more tyre wear. Look at the tyre wear difference, because Gecko's come into the pits and got fresher tyres. So King Gears is probably going to have the same attitude of me. We're coming on to lap 16 of a 22 lap race. He ain't going to be able to defend it. So he's look, just lets him have the inside, and look at that, he's just going to let Gecko go. The race for first is gone. Sometimes you have to accept that the race for a certain position might be over, unless there's a mistake. Well, if you let them by, they might make that mistake later on, and you might get them back. You know, they might have got their tyre strategy wrong. They might run out of tyres by the end of the stint, and you might get them back. But as you can see, me and King Gears now let them go. But you can see I'm now starting to struggle on tyre wear. And this is the big difference I want people to notice, but because this is extreme for me. You probably wouldn't go this extreme in a race. You'd probably just do it at 1 or 2 of the corners to keep your lap time a bit higher, because my lap time speed is about the same as Hard's. So by saving this much, I'm not really gaining, because I might as well just be on Hard's lapping fast. But look at my rear tyres, and so the right tyres are what we're looking at this track mostly. My front right and rear right are very even. If anything, my rear tyre might be a little bit worse than my front tyre in a car that takes a bigger beating on the front than it does on the rear. Let's go to King Gears' car now as he goes for a bit of a trip on the grass. So King Gears here, his front right tyre is worse than his rear right tyre. So proving that this car uses the front tyres more than it does the rears. But because I've been looking after mine, I'm allowing that front tyre to last as long as that rear tyre is going to last. And if we look at that front right, there is no difference between my front right and King Gears' front right. They're exactly the same. Rear right though, look, my rear right is worse than King Gears. However, look at my left tyres, the tyres that aren't being used as much, just to prove how much you can save tyres. My left hand tyres here, let's flip to King Gears. Look, his rear left is better than my rear left, but look at my front left. My front left tyre has more grip left in it than King Gears' front left on the hard tyres, because of how I've been being smooth and how King Gears has been pushing. So Nicky now has come into the pit, used the mediums, gone that extra lap. He can now push. So he will be looking at that gap to me and King Gears. So Nicky's aim here is to push as hard as he can. That's the strategy that he's picked now. Is in this second stint, he is going to push as hard as he can to try and catch up to the no-stoppers and overtake the no-stoppers to get that podium. So Nicky is racing me and King Gears for the podium here. That's what he's looking at. He's going to push hard. He's not worried about saving tyres at all. He's going to be really aggressive on those tyres. He's going to get absolutely every bit of lap time that he possibly can out of this car to try and get after me and King Gears. Because that's the strategy that he's chose. Mediums, putting the softs on, so that he can then push hard on those soft tyres. So I'll just skip forward now then to see when Nicky starts to catch up to us. So as you can see now then, we're coming on to that final lap. King Gears has managed to pull away from me. My rear right tyre's nearly gone and my front right's also not far off. So I'm now just on, let's get to the end of this race. And Nicky has done his job. Look at this, Nicky is flying. But Nicky's front right, he's nearly burnt it. He's pushing that hard to get off after me. He's nearly burnt that front right tyre out. But he has that slight grip advantage in the rear over me still. He's on the softer compound and he has better rear grip than I do at the moment. So he's really pushing hard to get after me. Gecko has worked his strategy a treat. Pushing hard, choosing that strategy, knowing how long the tyres will last him. And he's going to obviously be able to get that win. Kingy is doing the same on the harder tyres, knowing he can push and they will get him to the end of the race. So he took advantage of practice. That's what it's all about, practice. Whereas I've had to look after tyres. That's the strategy I've chose. And it's worked. I'm going to get these mediums to the end of the race. But Nicky's strategy has now worked for him as well in some respects. He's now got a last lap battle for the podium. So his strategy has pulled off for him. He's got a last lap battle for the podium. And I'm now trying to cling on. I'm going to defend this. This is last lap. If Nicky gets a chance, I'm going to try and defend. However, I'm starting to really lack grip. As you see as I run wide there, I'm just really starting to lose grip. So I'm unable to defend there to Nicky. But look, and then I go deep again from the pressure from Nicky. So my tyre grip is pretty much gone. Nicky's still got a bit of rear tyre grip, and look at the rear tyre difference, allows him to get that exit. And then coming around here, look at how much I understeer. So I'll go back, just go back quick to show you this, obviously showing the tyre difference, where my tyres now are pretty much dead on the right hand side of the car. I'm now in survival mode to get to the end of the race. Look at how big a lift I have to take here. I lift right off, and look, I still push Nicky all the way to the very edge of the track because my grip has now gone. So Nicky's strategy pays off. I don't quite manage to hold enough grip at the end of the race. But look, as you see, I've got those mediums to the end of the race, and I have white on all of those mediums. Let's go to King Gears on the same strategy. Pretty much very similar tyre wear. Not a huge difference between my tyres and King Gears tyres. Yet King Gears is a full compound harder than I am. So that just proves how much you can actually tyre save and you can actually look after tyres. That I have made those tyres last. Nicky pitted off the same tyre compound as me on lap 12, if I remember correctly. Probably could have done another lap or two, but Nicky would have ran out of tyres lap 14. I've got to the end of lap 22. So I've by doing an extreme tyre save, I have gained 6 laps on my 8 laps on my tyres, because lap 14 I think I said Nicky would have got to, didn't I? So 8 laps worth of tyre. So this is why I'm saying you only have to do that a little bit. If you want to save tyres, do it in slipstream, do it a little bit, you might gain a lap. You might gain 1 lap. That 1 lap might be the difference between having to pit again and not. You know, this is why you need to practice so you know what strategy is going to be best and what strategy will suit your driving style best. Will it be Gecko's flat out but smooth? And that's what you got to remember, flat out but smooth, which is why his tyres lasted. If he hadn't been smooth, those soft tyres would not have lasted 11 laps. But he's also not done anything over the top to look after him like Sorry, excuse me there. Like I was. King Gears, now flat out aggressive driving, but had to sacrifice by going on to the hardest compound available. But it's worked, he's got a second place. Nicky, same strategy as Gecko, but more aggressive on the tyres. Because he's more aggressive on the tyres, he's used that mediums, he's got that extra lap out of those mediums, so he only has to do 10 laps on the softs, and his softs have died. So he's got himself, by using the mediums, he's meant he can drive aggressive on the softs, because that's the style that he wants for this race. I there have saved tyres like mad, really looked after the tyres, more so to prove that it's possible, to show that there is a way of doing it. And if you want, let me know in the comments below and we can try and do a tyre save video to maybe go a bit more in depth as to how to do it, so that you can see how much you can actually save on tyres. And then obviously Nick made a few mistakes, unfortunately, but the same. But Paul was being really, really aggressive on tyres, running soft softs right from the start, but making mistakes because running out of tyre grip, proving that he's pushing the tyres more than you can. And if you've not practiced, this is what you can risk doing. Not knowing how long your tyres are going to last, driving aggressive, and your tyres not going to last you long enough, and then you end up in a situation where you make mistakes, you struggle, you run out of tyre grip, and you end up at the back of the grid. Slightly longer video there then, a lot of information to take in, but hopefully it helps you out, and hopefully it shows you why it's important to practice strategy and how many different strategies you can actually use. So don't forget to like and subscribe, put your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.